executives are so busy, the fact that you do so much travel, the fact that the company's growing, you have to have a good awareness of the business. We always manage to talk about so many things with you. So thank you for coming back, and welcome to Sarah, first time at our event. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. And I did rope in my colleague this time. I'm like, I can't do this alone.
Yeah.
We need to support each other.
Definitely. And you'll have noticed that both of your bosses were in the video. So they are very, very, very busy guys. The company, as you saw in the video, is just growing at such an extraordinary rate that I wanted to talk to you about how you, I guess, hold on to the roller coaster and do the jobs that you do. So the first thing I thought I would ask you, because you are both assistants to the co-founders, is how the two of you work together. Do we have any other EAs here that work for the CEOs of their businesses, or work for the founders or the directors of their businesses? Okay, so you'll get some understanding of this. How do you guys work together to make sure that you are communicating to get their needs met?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, Nikki, and I think it was just pure relief when Sarah was brought on board, because it was just James for a while and then a little bit of support to Dickie, but it was just pure relief when she was brought on board. She was so personable and easy to work with. So I think we're just in like constant comms just all the time. What would you say?
Yeah, I would say the number one thing is just being really good at communication. Like, me and Bethany literally sit like 5 meters from each other, like right in front of the guys' offices. So every day that we're both in the office, it's always face-to-face communication, and if not, it's always WhatsApp, it's on the phone, because a lot of Martin and James's commitments are together, so we need to make sure that they are always like in the loop. They know what they're doing when they're available. So yeah, I would just say making sure you communicate, because if we don't communicate, then things just don't happen.
I don't know what's going on. And I was asking you this before we came up onto the stage. Their personalities, from what I've seen, are very different. So how do you manage that? How do you... Firstly, talk to me about how they're different, because I know one is quieter than the other one. So talk to me about how they're different.
Yeah, they're vastly different people. So James is more the extrovert. He's out there. He's the
one swearing in the video,
yes.
right?
Sorry. And I think Dickie is probably a little bit more introvert, but I think there's some insight there. The fact that the two of them are so different. What do you think that's...
Martin is, he studied brewing and distilling, so he is very much a production guy. So he is very much working in the brewery. Like, he will put on his high-vis and disappear, and I'm like, where's he gone? Like, texting everyone where he is.
Tracking him down for a meeting.
Yeah, it's challenging, but we've got there in the end. But yeah, Martin, they're just very different, but I think it's good that they are so different, because if they were both the same, you know, it just wouldn't work. So it's really good that they just have completely different personalities. I think that's how they've gotten to where they are today.
It doesn't come without its challenges, though, because then trying to like tie two very different down in the same room at the same time for a same film shoot or anything, it's just it's challenging. But
so how
there's beer at the end of it.
Yeah.
I was going to say, how do you overcome the challenges, but beer. How do you overcome the challenges? Where are the communication difficulties?
I would say that the partnership that Sarah and I have really helps us with those challenges, because they are such different people. So if we keep each other in the loop, you know, if Dickie disappears for a second, she can track him down. And I think it's just that constant communication. I think we're even developing like looks and you know, just features with our hands just to do anything like have you seen him? But I think the more that we communicate and the more that we kind of, I guess, delve into their personalities and know them more, then the more we can help ourselves at the end of it all.
Yeah, and I think, because Martin had never had an assistant before, he was just kind of used to doing his own thing. But now that I'm there, he knows. He's like, right, no, I have to be there now. And it's important for us to be in constant communication, but I'm in communication with most of the company. So I have someone to go to, you know, I'm like, is he in production? Is he in the distillery? Is he in the office? And so I just need to get answers really quick. So I just make sure I communicate with everyone in the company.
And I'd like to ask as well, because the company has grown so quickly, how have you gone about setting up the structures for the EAs and PAs that work within the business? Do you guys have a network with the other EAs? How does that work? How is that managed within the business?
I think it's a good one. I think that's even something that we can work on even more, just because it's grown so fast and we've picked up some more amazing EAs to work
do you know
with.
how many EAs there are now?
And they're
They're
here.
here.
They're here. Oh, way. Can we stand up and give a little
please.
wave?
We've got Abby supports the finance team, and then Fiona supports the retail team. We have one more, Kirsty, who supports the HR function. She couldn't be here today, unfortunately, but I think that's a great point. I think we try to communicate with each other as much as possible so no one's reinventing the wheel. But it is so fast-paced, and just even for us to get together for something like this, I think it transpired in December, and I just went up to all the directors and said, I'm sorry I'm taking them.
Yeah, they didn't really get a choice in the matter.
We have to do this.
But we are like a really close little team. I think it's really nice that there are just 5 of us, and we always make time for each other. Like, we've got the group chats and everything. If one of us maybe is like, oh my God, I'm drowning in so much work, the other one is also always like, I'm here, what do you need? That's what we have, and it's really nice. It's like our own little PA family.
So let's get on to the subject of busy bosses, because I'm sure we've got lots of questions on that. I know that both of the co-founders travel quite a lot. So can you just talk to me through how you have built that relationship with them when they're not in the office very often and are out traveling?
These are going to be 2 very different answers.
He's much more grounded, right?
Yeah.
And I think I tend to travel with James quite a bit, so I think we touched on it before, that there's kind of a comfortable intrusion where we're just in each other's space all the time. So it helps us because with James, I can move at such a fast pace. I'm with him like probably more than I am with my cat, which is so sad. I love my cat. But I think that helps. But you probably have a very different perspective.
Yeah, I try. Martin does travel a lot, but I tend to not travel with him. He just prefers it that way. Like, I travel with him to the big events, the AGMs and all that kind of thing, because he needs me there. But I try and schedule 15 minutes face-to-face time every week. Doesn't always happen, but when it does, I'm like, right, this is my 15 minutes. So I literally go in with like a bullet pointed list of maybe everything that's coming up in the next 2 to 4 weeks. Like, it's that crazy. And you've got that 15 minutes just to be like, right, this, and you don't really have time for like conversation. It is literally just a bullet pointed meeting. And that's how I get a lot of my answers before he's away for like 2 weeks traveling. But me and Martin love WhatsApp. This is like our go-to app. This is the only app I probably really use, but me and Martin probably speak daily on WhatsApp. So when he is traveling, he could send me like a to-do list of things, and something that's maybe popped into his head, and he'll just write it down, and that way it's stored in it. So I know, right, we need to action that. We can discuss later when we need to do this, or if it's urgent, he'll phone me. So we are in constant communication as well.
And is WhatsApp the go-to tool and tech that you use? Is there? And
Yes.
I guess you try and do the Skype for face-to-face.
Yeah, not always. We don't really use Skype or Zoom at all. It's only ever WhatsApp or just phoning each other, or face-to-face meetings that we very rarely get. Yeah.
So it sounds like it's just a constant battle to get in contact with him and keep around with him.
Yeah, we just have to make sure that anything that comes up, we just put it in the WhatsApp, and
Yeah.
it is the best way that we work, and it seems to be working for us. It's been 2 years, so I'm not going to change it.
When you do have such a busy boss, it can be hard to, and we've touched on this before, it can be hard to get them to give you kind of mentorship and give you guidance. And I know, speaking to assistants at lots of different events, it's not just getting the time and getting all of the actions off of them, but it's getting the kind of personal development that you get from bosses. So how do you guys work with that when it's either finding the time, or does that get dropped because the tasks are more important? Where does the career development fit in when you work with a busy boss?
That's such a good one too. I think part of it too is just educating them on us needing the same tools that they give their leadership team. So if James hands out a book to the leadership team for them to really delve into, I ask for one myself, and sometimes I'll get some extras and pass them out to the girls. I just think it's up to you to also ask for that too. It's a difficult thing, but it's the easiest thing, and if you don't ask, you don't get. So, I try to ask him if I can for tools like that, or I think the hugest mentorship thing that I get out of my position is working in the C-suite and being able to listen and to be on that level and hear all of their beautiful brains just just going crazy about the production of beer, for example, you know. But it's just the way that all of those different brains work together in a room, and I think that's the best like education I could ever have, is just being around those really bright people.
Yeah, I'm quite the same. Like being a PA, you don't really have that traditional relationship where you get like appraisals scheduled and things like that. I have found that I just observe how Martin works, because he works so efficiently. And I've changed completely how I've worked as well, because I used to be, you know, like I'm a very chatty person, so I've kind of learned to just like cut out what doesn't need to be said and just get straight to facts, because that's how he works, and he does amazingly well. Like he gets things done really quickly. So I've kind of adopted that as well, and I've started speaking like that too. But it does work. You just get answers so much quicker. And yeah, like Bethany said, like I ask for feedback, or he gives me books. He suggests articles I can read. So he does mentor me, but in just a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have we got any questions?
My question is to Sarah, actually. I know you said that you try and do the 15 minutes with him face to face, and you've got a bulleted list.
Yeah.
I think you've just answered my question, actually, but you said if you go in there with facts, he will get the job done.
Yeah.
Is there ever a situation where he doesn't give you a quick answer, or you have to keep asking the same bulleted list, and how do you deal with that? That's a bugbear for me.
Yes,
I want things done.
I have this, I go in with the bullet listed points, and yeah, there are times where we don't know the answer, but that bullet point will never go away. Like I have this like spreadsheet of all these outstanding actions that can be revisited at a later date, but it is just something I'm like, right, okay, we don't know the answers right now, but I will log that for a later time and bring it into the next time I get the 15 minutes. Because usually when we don't have an answer there and then, it's not super urgent. If it's urgent, then we're just like, right, know the answers now. But if we don't know the answer, it's most likely something that's not crucial. So, yeah.
I would say just on the back of that, though, we're also kind of, because we go so fast, we're empowered to make decisions. So I would say that Sarah and I make a hell of a lot of executive decisions and then just hope for the best. Because you kind of have to move at pace, and if you're not getting the answer, if there's not enough time, you just go with it. And I think both of them are like so interesting in the sense that they allow you to do that, and they allow you to sometimes totally fail and make the wrong decision. But the fact that you made the decision in the moment and that you've got the confidence to just go forward with it, it usually works out well.
Yeah, it always works in the end. Yeah.
And there's beer.
Yes, and there's always beer.
Do we have any other questions? Yep, there's just one at the back here.
Hi. Like you said, you make decisions because sometimes you think, yeah, let's do this decision because you never get an answer. But did you ever made the bad decisions, and did you have like a bad feedback for him? How do you bounce back from that?
I'm trying to think the worst decision I've made. I don't think I've ever made anything like really bad that it's not been able to be fixed. Usually if I've maybe agreed to him, like for instance, he does a lot of tasting events around like all our big markets, and I know he doesn't want to be bothered with the ins and outs of that event. Like I just make the decision. I'm like, right, we're going to send this beer, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And maybe at the final hour he'll be like, no, I wanted this beer sent, and I just have to be like, okay. And I don't let him know it's a huge problem. I just make it happen, and it can just be just making it happen, just finding any way possible to make this happen. And 9 times out of 10 it usually does. So I wouldn't.
Do you think that's an instinctual thing, or do you think that's because of your awareness of the business has helped that decision-making process? Because you're, as you were saying, you're reading the books that they read, you're sitting in the meetings with them, and you get a much more awareness of the business. Does that inform the decisions for you? Does that give you more confidence to make those decisions?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'm surrounded so much by production, Martin works very closely with our head of brewing, head of quality. I'm in all those meetings, so I can see exactly what's going on all the time. So I kind of know what to do, but
to second guess.
Not really, no, not really. But there's always, we have like so much beers. We've obviously got Hawks, we've got Overworks that I've just launched. There's always things coming out that are brand new. So it is just, I'm just making sure that we're always a step ahead and know exactly what's coming out and what tastings are coming up. I'm like, right, that's launching that date, so that's going to have to be sent as soon as it's brewed. It is just being one step ahead all the time.
And Bethany, you've got such a wonderful story that I wanted you to share. Do you know the one I mean?
Which one is this one?
The phone call that you took that led to... Am I cueing you for this? So the phone call that you took that led to the funding that you got. Because I think it's such an amazing story.
I think this is my story on confidence. So when you're down to the wire and you're under such pressure, you don't even have time to worry if you're nervous or excited or anything. So it was just a full day of meetings with James, and there was one call coming up, and he didn't want to take it. He's like, no. And I'm like, no, we need to take it. Because I'd researched this guy. I'd looked up his LinkedIn. I kind of knew a little bit about the company. I'm like, you're going to need to take this call. And I don't think I've spoken to him quite like that before, because I'm usually just like, really kind of supporting him. But in that moment, I was like, nope, you need to take it. And that call led to us having an investment with TSG, a company that's got a minimal investment in BrewDog, but at the same time, they allow us to progress so much faster and so much farther. So we ended up being valued as a £1 billion company. And I'm like, see? Take the call.
I just think that's an incredible story, because when we spoke about it before, it was just that you had that feeling and you used your gut and you made him do something he didn't want to do, which I think a lot of people would have thought, I won't do it because I don't want to annoy him, he's tired, but you made him do that because of the instinct that you had. And I think because of your awareness of the business, you've done the research. So I love that story.
He does too now.
Yeah, I bet he does. Do we have any other questions? Okay, I've got, sorry, yeah. Sure.
You work as a part of a team of PAs, but I on my own. So when you go on holiday, pretend if you didn't have anybody else, how you make provision for when you're away, you don't have to work. Like, because when I take my holidays, I want to be on holiday. So how you take provision for your boss, how you support him, how do you think you could support him?
Well, I'd say that for me, I really have to mirror James' holidays. So when he takes holidays, I usually take the same time, but in a totally different part of the world, so that the time zones don't collide. But I think we just have that understanding now of when he's away with his family for a couple of weeks, that's the time I know to take my time, because I just think it's so fast paced that I wouldn't be able to really do that otherwise.
Yeah, I'm the same. I try and take holidays when Martin is away already, and a lot of my holidays can be quite last minute. If he's away for 2 weeks on holiday and he has been a little bit quieter, I'll just make that decision and be like, right, this is a good time to take some time off. But of course, there are going to be times when I am away and he's still in the office. So in that situation, I just have to make sure I'm really up to date before I go, and have to admit it, I do take my work phone with me. So I have to have just kind of, I don't like letting go of control completely. I like to know that things are still going okay. And he would never phone me on holiday. He would always just WhatsApp me. And if it's something I can action relatively quickly, I don't mind doing that. So it's just, yeah.
I think off the back of that too, the culture that we have at BrewDog is just so tight and so friendly. So even if I am stuck in a spot or we're away from each other, I can always rely on anybody else in the team. So whether it's other EAs or just other business relationships that I've met, that I think that is so important to make sure that you have that foundation within the business, that you have a go-to person in every department, like especially IT, but anywhere, so that like if you are away, you've got someone to go to that can handle that situation.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think you don't want to do too much when you are meant to be on holiday. So if it's anything a little bit bigger, I go to the PA team, like, because I trust them 100%. And if they can't help for whatever reason, if somebody else is on holiday, like, there will always be someone at BrewDog that will get it done for you, which is really nice about the company.
Have you got any more questions?
One of my concerns is like the well-being of one of my managers, because he just works so hard. It's just not good for him. And I try and say, come on, you do have to go to that place tonight, because he travels a lot at night, ready for the next day. And do you kind of try and manage that? Or is that just something that you let them make their own decisions about how hard they have to work?
That's a really good point. And I think James is really careful to carve that time out, but at the same time, if I see that the week is getting on top of us and we've got so many meetings, I'll block an entire day just for strategy or for mindfulness so that he can, have a good workout and just think for a bit. We are pretty careful with that, just because if you're sitting that high up, you've got to have a clear head, and you've got to be able to make sure that other people feel secure, that everything is going the right direction. So it's a case of scheduling that time in for mindfulness, but it's also something you can do where just recommending books. Like if you've seen something on Amazon or a great podcast about how, to do less with more or to be like laser focused or something. I mean, you can always offer that, and that might be a great opening door for a conversation to say, hey, I noticed you've been really stressed out lately. This is a great book that's come highly recommended. Maybe we can talk about it after you've read it, and I'd love to schedule some time for you, like every Wednesday for you to just have downtime or something like that.
Yeah, like Bethany and James, me and Martin, we actually schedule in downtime in his diary. So we try and block out a couple mornings a week, so he just has that flexibility to not come in straight away. So he kind of has the morning to maybe work out or maybe just spend some time with his kids, something like that. So it's not like 9 till 5, boom, you have to be here. I just call it focus time, so I don't book in any meetings. I try and keep meetings till after 12 o'clock, so he does have that the morning just to not just come in, bam, like 9 till 5, like back to back. And yeah, I just think just making sure that he has that time, because like you say, it's so important for them to have a clear head when they are operating at the level that they are. So yeah, I think that's just as equally as important.
And with the company growing so quickly, and I would imagine changes come very quickly, particularly around scheduling and all that kind of stuff, but just business changes as well. Yeah. How do you guys make sure that you're in the loop with that? And how do you roll with those changes?
Do you want to go first?
I'll try.
Don't roll.
Rolling with the changes. Yeah, there's always changes at BrewDog. It grows so quickly, and the speed is just insane. But it's actually that's like one of the parts I love about it, because you're part of that, and like the places you get to go. Like we've both traveled, and just being part of that and knowing all the exciting things that are coming up. That's kind of what gets you through everything. And as like I said before, I touched on that I communicate a lot with everyone in the company, and that's kind of how I stay in the loop, because people know that they have to keep us in the loop in order for things to get actioned. So any new starts, anyone, I always make sure I introduce myself as soon as possible, just get those introductions done really quickly, and yeah, just build that relationships up from the very start and go with it.
Yeah, I think the relationships is the key thing here. As long as you've got other people and eyes and ears in the business, we're going to hear the stuff from the top that kind of trickles down. But just having a pulse on the team in general is so important.
Yeah.
I love that you said people want to keep you in the loop, because I think that's quite rare actually. I don't know if you guys find that with the businesses that you work for, but certainly my experience, it's nice to hear that people want to keep the EA in the loop, because they realise that relationship is so important. It then goes down to the executive, so that's good to hear. I don't think that's always the case. Mm-hmm. We've got time for a couple more questions if anybody's got one.
I think I already know the answer to this speaking to you, but we always hear the term bandied about when we come to things about boundaries. You must create your boundaries. With punk PAs, are there any boundaries, or has there ever been an instant when you've had to say, I ain't doing that?
Oh, Beth. I think my phrase is going to be for my relationship with James, just because we work so closely together and we travel together all the time, is just definitely a comfortable intrusion. I mean, I don't know if you've seen my Instagram, but I was stood holding the bag after he did a film session when he was standing in his pants covered in hops. So I mean, there was no boundaries that day.
Yeah.
Just tears and gin.
Yeah. Always, yeah. Gin's always good.
I don't know. I think you've got to have like personal boundaries in that sense, but I don't know. I think even the girls like Abby and Fiona could say, I mean, we just do everything all the time. But how would you say you set your boundaries?
I don't know. I do. Like I'm a people pleaser. I like to keep everyone happy, so I very rarely push back. I've never pushed back on anything Martin asks me to do, because I feel if he's asking me to do it, it's because it's going to make his life easier, which is what I'm there to do. So I never push back on anything that Martin asks me. But I think being a PA, when you're in this position, a lot of people can look at that and go, oh, could you maybe do this for me as well? And I think that's when you kind of have to set some boundaries and go, I could do this for you, but if it's going to upset my working relationship with Martin, if it's going to intrude on anything that I'm working on for him, then I have to say no. Like, that's when I have to say no, but I'm terrible at saying no. And it's something I'm working on.
And that's where we're going to have to end it. I think we all have to work on saying no. So I think you're on your own there.
Yeah.
Can we give Bethany and Sarah just a huge round of applause? Thanks. Thank you.